information. Yeah, the information we're talking about is really good. And, for some people, they are really comfortable with setting up Active Directory as one of our Cobalt Strike homework assignment required it. But for other of us, we have like bad experience. And like Dave was mentioning, just for his environment, I've had to do just a very simple Active Directory. Yeah, setting up all the different DHCP and DNS stuff, and it's super annoying. I think my current Active Directory now, it's broken because of some IP address changing because of the way VMware does it.
Well, pull up your
So,
site and services in your domain controller real quick.
sure. I'm sure. I imagine there's a way to fix it, Jared. My point is, because I'm not aware of all that, right? I don't want to learn it. I don't have time to learn it, Jared. So instead,
No. So right when the thing is like it's simply just you create, like if you have multiple IP addresses for a domain,
yeah.
there's a thing called domain sites and services in the server manager.
Okay.
And so you would just add those IPs in there as a site.
That's way too much.
It fixes everything. It's so simple.
No, that's not. That's horrible. That's horrible, painful, and tedious.
It's like adding a route to a router. Like you just have to tell Active Directory where stuff's at, and then it works.
So I think that's why myself and Todd were just really like, oh my god, we hate doing it. But yeah, finally went through the process of doing it. And then that's why the story I wanted to share was that I think my IP address, and I have to do the thing that Jerry did. But what I was going to do was I was just going to hard code my IP address, right, and then problem solve, and I'm all done, and just mess with Etsy hosts because it's just a lab environment. So I don't care to get DNS and DHCP working. Go on, yeah.
Quick tips with Active Directory. It's very, very dependent on DNS. Mm-hmm. So first thing you do when you create an Active Directory server, a domain controller, turn off IPv6 because it's not running in your network. So it won't even look there for that. You turn that off, and then just make sure your DNS is as clean as possible. And then if you're having multiple route sites between like DMZs or whatever, make sure to add that in sites and services. And then it kind of just works on itself. And you can always do like, I believe it's like RepelMan or something, and it'll tell you if things are going wrong.
Okay. Those are good pro tips. And I think we're probably going to lean on you more as the weeks go on, right, to get these kind of tips, because a lot of us are really new, and that's why we're very frustrated and intimidated by Active Directory. But yeah, Jared, if you help answer these questions for us, we will then learn how to use Active Directory correctly versus what most of us do. We're just hackers. So we get the minimum working Active Directory in a lab environment. That's all we know about it, right? But anywho, topics I wanted to talk about. Okay, first off, right, this kind of regular weekend meeting that Dave and I has been doing throughout the year after the previous 2020 Cyberforce competition, the requirements we had for this working group was that for these Zoom meetings was that everyone would do demos, and it's short demos, right? 1 minute demo, 5 minute demos. The whole idea here is just everyone just kind of shares and just practice doing demonstrations, and that really helps them get better. And it doesn't matter how good it is, it's more about just doing it, and just by going through the process, right, you're going to get better. So that's one of our requirements initially that Dave and I have, and I think eventually we're going to put it back in. But right now, because we're on a very tight deadline with our Cobalt Strike, our access ends in like a week and a half or so. So that's why we're like, okay, we're not going to have the hard requirement right now. But I think maybe later in December or in January, we'll start putting that hard requirement. It's like, hey, if you want to hang out with us on these weekend sessions, right, the only requirement is just do a demo. It doesn't matter, how fancy or how beginner-ish is just do a demo. So that's what I wanted to first start off with, saying that. And the other thing is in the material, as long as you find it interesting, like all the cool tips and tricks that Jared just said, he could just do a demo on that. It's like, hey guys, I see you guys are doing some stupid stuff with Etsy hosts, right? And you guys are hard coding IP address. This is how you do the right way of DHCP and DNS, right? That could be a really good demo for us. And it's just something that you find interesting and you learn, then that's legit, and you could do a demo on that. So that's what I wanted to say about the demos. And okay, the next thing I want to go through is our Cobalt Strike working group, right? Study group. So currently right now there's sort of two self-learning pre-season training type of activities. One is a hack in the box group that Dan and Elliot and most of you guys are also participating in. That's going really well, and I'm really happy about that. Hopefully I'll have some free time soon. Like Dave mentioned, right? Cowboy Bebop is on Netflix. I'm doing all this crazy Cobalt Strike stuff, right? There's all this stuff at work. And Anthony and I had this discussion where we're like, there's 1,000 things that we're like running in 100 directions. Like, we have to focus. We'll a handful of things, focus on the handful of things, because otherwise it's just way too overwhelming. So yeah, for the Hack in the Box stuff, for me personally, hopefully I'll have some time and maybe we'll transition after we do this Cobalt Strike stuff. So with that said, right, now I want to go into like, what are my visions for this Cobalt Strike? So initially, so far, we've been having some very sort of foundational basic exercise, right, for you guys to just get familiar and comfortable with how it works, what are the different functionalities. But I really want us to get to so that's been the last week. But so we're building a foundation, but I want us to get to a place where we're really sort of are expert power users of Cobalt Strike, and we know the ins and outs of it, right? So for instance, I'm going to start going through the different sites about my vision for, hopefully we'll be able to cover most of this, right? And topics very similar to all the stuff that I'm going to really breeze through really quick in terms of what I'm hoping we'll get to a place where we get to cover all these materials. And the part of it that I really care about, so I feel like in the industry, for the the red team professionals, for the red team professionals, all they really care about usually is to get Cobalt Strike working. So they need, I have to get persistence here. I have to do a ladder move. All they care about is getting their technique working. And in a lot of cases, they don't really understand the underlying mechanisms of what are the IOCs, what techniques is Cobalt Strike doing under the hood. And I want our group to be a little different, where we actually understand what's happening under the hood, so we can share that knowledge with blue teamers, so we can help them identify and detect Cobalt Strike. So that's my bigger vision, is like, okay, we should have a very superficial understanding of, okay, I'm using this jump command, right? I'm using this Mimikatz command, but really I want us to get to a place where, like, how does Mimikatz work? What's going under the hood with this jump command, right? So those are my goals there. And with that, now I'm going to sort of really quickly hammer through, hopefully, like all the kind of topics that we could potentially cover and do homework assignments on, right? And all of this is kind of very organic, and I don't have like a clear-cut agenda or a roadmap of how we're going to cover all this material, but this is more like things I just quickly looked up just before this meeting, so people can get an idea of like what I want to ultimately be able to do with Cobalt Strike, right? So right here, right, this blog post by Mudge, right, malleable process injection. What's process injection? How does it work? Memory allocation, all these different techniques of code execution, right? Most people who use Cobalt Strike, they don't really understand the details here. Hopefully our group can get to a place where we're like, okay, what are these different APIs? What are Win32 APIs, right? What are these post-exploit DLLs? What the heck are vendor DLLs, right? So all this information. So that's number one. Right here, I think this goes through more, okay, what's the process injection lifecycle? Again, it's talking about different malleable profiles you can do to specify, looks like different APIs to use, right? And for us, for if we're going against a beginner blue teams, we'll leave it as default. But once we get to more better blue teams, then we want to like figure out, okay, how can I change this so I can challenge the better blue teams? Right? Different APIs, how do these things work? And the reality here that I want to share for the audience here is like, to really understand all of this background material, it's going to take us a really long time for people who already don't have a foundation in it, right? In terms of how do you go about doing all these different Win API calls, and how do they really work? And unless you sort of really have a background in it, you're going to have to do a lot of research and a lot of practice to get the foundational knowledge to understand some of this. All right, and then so with one of the release here, right? There's this concept of bring your own weaponization to sort of modify this jump and elevate command to sort of extend it so you can do your own customization. And so I'm really hoping we could make this as one of our homework assignments here, right? Where we're sort of doing this BYOW thing, and how do we go about doing it? So hopefully we can make this a homework assignment. All right, how comfortable are people with, okay, this is really cool right here. Excuse me, this is one of the new features in the 4.0 series of Cobalt Strike, is beacon object files. And with beacon object files, you can do some very powerful stuff with beacons. Where before this version, I believe, you were just stuck with whatever the developers, the creators of Cobalt Strike gave you for beacons. But now they gave you this a new feature of using these beacon object files to really add additional capabilities within your beacons. So hopefully we'll be able to do a homework assignment based on beacon object files. Okay, what do we have here? Oh, this one was kind of cool. So this is, I think, about, yeah, using beacon object files to implement your own exploits and your own techniques. So for our Cyberforce competition, right? Nathan was able to get us DLL processing. So, you know, maybe potentially a homework assignment or something along those lines is to package either an exploit or one of those red team techniques into this beacon object file. All right, so right here, right, it's talking about more additional features, in-memory flexibilities, how to go about configuring post-exploits DLL, and some manual C2 functionality. Okay, so I think those are the deep dives. The rest here, I think now you're kind of having an idea of, you know, how deep is this rabbit hole, right? We can go really deep here, but I think this is what's gonna get us to that next level of where now we're more experts red teamers versus, okay, we're sort of beginner or just run-of-the-mill average red teamers, right? Once we sort of are able to understand and implement some of these more advanced features, we're gonna upgrade our skill levels where now we'll become advanced red teamers if we sort of are able to figure this stuff out and able to implement this kind of functionality with Cobalt Strike. I think this is some really cool infrastructure type stuff that you can do with Cobalt Strike. Some interesting automation with listeners here. Yeah, some stuff with aggressor scripts. You know, so do you guys know what aggressor scripts are? And I think there was a predecessor to aggressor.
I have no idea what an aggressor script is.
I think I have a vague, right? And that's why we have our learning group, is eventually we'll get to a place where it's like, okay, now we know how it fits into Cobalt Strike. And how does that differ from malleable profiles? How does that differ from beacon object files, right? And yeah, this is why I'm really enjoying our Cobalt Strike learning group. Ooh, some really cool functionality with Credit Bandit there. Some new functions with reflective DLLs that we could potentially use. And it looks like this is a repo of all the different aggressor scripts, I believe. That, again, right? Oh no, so this looks like a bunch of beacon object files, like a bunch of resources that other people has created for Cobalt Strike. And hopefully one of us will sort of comb through this and find out what are some of the cool ones that we should sort of focus on and sort of potentially create as a homework assignment, right? And so we can learn how to use these more powerful capabilities that the community has created here.
That's really cool. So is that like an alternative to using the artifact kit that you get with Cobalt Strike? You just use like community run stuff? That's really neat.
Right? Yeah. And then that's the other thing, like, you know, Nathan's kind of like stealing my thunder here with more secret type stuff, right? But then like there's this artifact kit here, and once the group wants to play around with artifact kit or get to a place where they want to do something with artifact kit, ping me, DM me and let me know, and I will hook you up with the artifact kit. But you know, it's exclusive for the overachiever here that are in our Zoom meetings.
Hey, Candy, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I did do I created like a quick demo for us. Okay. I don't know if you want to do it today, because I know it's everybody's Saturday, so I don't want to take up too much time with it.
How long is your demo, Anthony?
I could show you like I wrote it, like I did a write-up for it. It's like a page and a half. Okay. So I'm totally fine with doing it next weekend, because I don't want to hold everybody up here on Saturday.
So I really want you to do the demo, but I'm hoping you could like squeeze it in 10 minutes, hopefully.
Yeah, and if it's taking any longer, just cut me off.
We're gonna get the hook and like pull you off stage. Okay, let me figure out. Stop sharing here, and yeah, try to do the sharing, and then let me know when you're ready to go, and then I will hit the record button.
Oh, okay.
What's the deal with that fancy Cyberforce shirt, though?
I know. Okay, but before,
Yeah,
okay,
man.
yeah. So that's the first
Yeah.
thing you do, Anthony. When I start the recording, is like show off your Cyberforce shirt for us, so we can like, you know, impress the.
Okay, if this goes wrong, we're gonna have to delete the recording though, because I haven't done a presentation in a while.
Oh, it's fine. Did you see me? I made so many mistakes, Anthony. I was so embarrassed because like I have a certain standards for myself personally, and I was like, oh, but it is what it is. And yeah,
Well, you
just
did
kinda learn
fine.
to
You
deal
did
with it.
fine.
What's up?
It's important to watch people like look at their IP addresses and like figure everything out as they're going. I
That's
like
true.
watching that personally. I don't like watching everything that's clean cut.
I agree. But
Um,
for the person who does it, it's kind of rough. Is all
Yeah.
I'm saying. But yeah, let me know when you want me to press that record button.
all right, go for it.